The Team Supreme podcast is brought to you by the voices of Jason Schomer and Yashar Coffee and produced by Matt Sewell, who is me. I am Matt Sewell. If you got a moment, leave a comment about the podcast or give us a rating or share with your friends. Enjoy.
I'm from New Jersey. He's from Iran. It's good enough for a podcast. We're Team Supreme. I don't know if I ever told you this story. I know but Lloyd and I, we lived with a ghost.
We what?
We lived with a ghost for 2 years on Byron Street.
In 1615?
Yeah.
The year 1615?
You clearly didn't have the experience, the full-on experience.
The top-level ghost, the third, was it fourth
but
floor?
also in the
floor?
pantry. You don't remember? So we had, all right, so we moved into a house when we moved to Chicago with 4 other guys. There was 6 of us, and it was a multi-level house. And we had the top 2 levels of the house. It was a really, really old house.
Yeah, and we need to, let me just say, no air conditioning.
Right.
All hardwood, like classic Chicago cheap-built house, but bowing out into the alley, so this thing was almost collapsing.
Exactly. It was leaning.
Yeah.
And if we would take a marble and put it on the wood floor, and it would just shoot to one side of the wall.
Yeah.
Because that's how much the house was leaning. And every step you took, you heard it 4 rooms over because the creaking would actually travel. But with that being said, that was just because of us moving around. But most of us, I don't know, I guess you didn't, but a lot of the guys, we had our own little weird experience of something is in this house that felt like a ghost.
How many of y'all live there?
There were 6 of us.
6.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
6
people,
bedrooms?
3 bedrooms? 4 bedrooms.
4 bedrooms. Yeah.
Bunks?
I'm the only one who never had his own room at any point in the entire experience.
I shared a twin bed. Oh. No, that's not true.
Oh,
No, wait,
wow.
me and Ryan. I believe, didn't you have a room with Ryan first?
No, I lived with Jeff first.
First you lived with Jeff,
And
then Ryan moved downstairs when Reese moved out.
right, and then I paid. I remember paying extra to have my own room, but you stayed.
I was always...
You always had a room. You always had a
then
roommate.
Jeff moved in with me.
Right. Like you guys did not care at all.
No. We were both soldiers.
Yeah, and in this, he was right with the air conditioning. Like this summer, the top level that we slept in, our bedrooms, was not meant to be rooms. This was an attic that was converted into 2 rooms, and the windows were the only crank, like roof windows that would slide up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
So no air, there was no ventilation. No air came in. We couldn't put in air conditionings. I think I threatened to sue, and they eventually put in central air. But that was like after 2 years.
Years later.
Yeah.
And then the year we moved in, there was a heat wave and like 70 people died of
Yep.
heat.
You couldn't. I would have to wake up in the middle of the night and
Take a shower.
Jump into a cold shower, and yeah. So anyway,
But who was roommates with the ghost?
we all were. I mean, we all had our. I mean, my first experience was that I was home alone and I heard footsteps going across the level above me. I was in the living room and the bedrooms. I heard footsteps back and forth, and I was with somebody at the time, and they heard it too, and we knew nobody was up there. And we all had our own little experiences like that, but we all felt the same thing when we walked into the pantry. When you walked into the pantry, you felt like somebody was in there with you, staring at you, like looking at you.
It's like this
So it was-
walk-in, like a walk-in closet kind of a pantry on the bottom floor of our apartment, right next to the porch, I guess.
Yeah.
Porch.
So it was like a feeling... Like, I've heard this description before. I've actually had one thing we'll get into later, but it felt like someone was there. Like
It felt, yeah. Imagine like you were, if you walked into a small closet and I was in the closet with you.
That was what I had. As you have been talking about this, I'm
Yeah.
like, it's coming back to me. My experience, because you felt like someone was walking down in the hallway upstairs.
Yeah.
I had one where I woke up and it was dark because it was at night, and I was like, "There's someone standing in my closet right in front of me." Because I had my bed was, if I like sat straight up, I would see directly into the closet, and I didn't have a closet door, and I didn't have anything shaped like a broad-shouldered thing. I guess maybe shirts, but they were all crisscross. That was my thing. So I denied it. I just went right back to bed.
But that was the thing. The thing was we didn't talk about it. We all kind of had our own little things. And then I remember the night we were all hanging out in the living room, all of us. And Jason Reese, who was one of the guys that was living with us, said, guys, I got to tell you something. I think I've seen a ghost in this house. And all of us at the same time were like, me too, me too, me too. And you have to remember this because right at that moment, I remember the movie we were watching. We were watching that Kevin Bacon Invisible Man movie.
Hollow Man?
Hollow Man. We were watching that. We were talked out. We were freaked out a little bit, but we were talking about how all of a sudden we all had our own experiences with the ghost. We somehow decided, we all realized it's a female ghost, like a woman or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then at that moment,
Did anyone get a Dan Aykroyd ghost blowjob?
No, but someone did get inappropriately touched Hollow Man style by Kevin Bacon.
that's right. Oh yeah, it got weird in that movie.
But didn't like something
The
drop?
light went off.
Yeah,
No, the
something
light went
happened.
off
Yeah.
right at that moment, and we all freaking screamed our brains out. It wasn't like the bulb went out. The actual switch was now turned off. So we were like, it was right when we were all finally talking about her, this ghost. And then boom. So then after that, it was just sort of like a known thing that it was there. Like there was no fear about it. Like none of us were scared about this thing. And
Well, she can't take all of you on.
it's true.
Right?
Yeah.
But unless
You
we're all
guys
in the
win
pantry
that.
at the same time. Because
Yeah.
that was where she has all her powers. We were like, she lives in the pantry. Anyway, but like I remember having a girl sleepover in my room and
Sleepover?
it was a sleepover.
Yeah.
And she woke me up and she's like, I just saw something. And I was like, what? She's like, there was a woman in the room and there was no legs under her. Like she literally had no legs under her. Like she was floating. I was like, oh, that's a ghost. Go back to sleep.
No.
Have you seen Haunting
fun.
in Hill House?
No, yeah.
I won't even get into it. A lot of shit like that. You should watch that.
I have to ask, do people believe in ghosts in Iran or is that even not even a thing at all?
No, I personally never believed in them because my parents told me it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's been widely discussed and talked about, and people like have experiences with ghosts. But I was brainwashed as a child to believe everybody is lying, so I never believed in them, and I've never had a personal experience. But you know, when more than one person who lived in the same house have experienced something like that, then there should be some truth to it.
Right.
But yeah, but I remember I had an aunt who claimed a late aunt, she passed away, she claimed she could talk to the ghost, and she had a board with alphabets and a little teacup where
The
she
Ouija
would,
board.
what do you call it?
Ouija board.
Ouija board.
Yeah. And then she would like, talk to like deceased descendants and all. And it was kind of a creepy experience. But yeah, and one time it caused like an uproar in the kitchen because my grandma came to talk to her father, and then she revealed a little too much. And then we were like, wow, that guy was such an asshole. Like we always respect him as this grandfather of my mom. But then she just, I don't know what took over her, but she started like cussing him out. Like
Those
saying,
ghosts
like,
can't keep their mouth shut, man.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
So you were believing
Loose
that
lips.
at the time? Like, even though you
No,
had
my mom was like, these people are all delusional.
Mm.
They have schizophrenia. One of them had. And they're on medication. This is how they like play with the voices in their heads and all. Just be a witness and like enjoy. Like, so I just sat there. But then when my grandma said like, why did you like love your other daughters more than me? And something along the lines
Whoa.
of that, yeah.
this was
Jerry.
It was
This is
a
a
Jerry,
stretch
yeah. It was
excuse
a
for
Jerry,
therapy.
Jerry Springer situation. Huh?
it sounds like it was a stretched excuse to have some personal therapy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time, big
my
big
gosh.
time. But
I would, I would
that's-
ghost that
that's
conversation.
Nice.
Still got
Nice.
But
20
yeah,
years.
That's right.
That's my personal. It's my personal.
But it wasn't
experience.
like a taboo subject or anything like that.
No, not at all. Like people openly talked about. Even we were not involved with this at all. But I knew some families or some people who had like financial problems or economic problems, or they had like they had something that they would try to overcome. They would go, and there were these people who would charge you, and they would talk to ghosts to go and take care of your problem.
Like, for them to take care of from the other side. you
From
mean?
the other side, yeah.
I see.
So
Middleman ghost.
a middleman,
I've,
yeah.
I've heard things like that before where, like, I don't even remember where here. I just recently heard it about someone saying that you could, like, there's, people that have passed away in your past could, like, be your on the other side team. Like, you could, ask for things from your team who are, like, looking out for you from the other side. I don't remember where I even heard it.
That's exactly the
That is,
idea.
yeah.
These people are not like the ones who are facilitating that and they get paid. They're not like exorcists or anything by any form of shape. But what they do is like they sit and then they align some stones in one line and then they say certain like affirmations, and that is to get like this army of ghosts to go after like the following judge that's about to like, you know, maybe put your child in prison or not, something
Damn.
like that.
It's
It's a business. Yeah.
I mean, I think I don't know if I believe in ghosts or not. I certainly,
Tough.
it's tough. But I definitely think that people are looking for answers, and that mediums and psychics and stuff can prey upon that for sure.
Yeah.
I was at a psychic once.
Yeah.
And, you know, they said the right thing. Like, so my wife was talking to her first, and then I came in the tent. And as soon as I came in the tent, she goes, "Oh, your mom says hi." My mom died like when I was like 24, so it'd always be like a sensitive thing. And I was like, "Oh God!" And I got all wrapped, and she said all these things or whatever.
Right.
But then, like as I was thinking back on it, I was like,
She rolled the dice.
"You can not even if you say, 'Oh, your mom says hi.' If my mom's alive, maybe I just like my mom."
Right.
Young guy always has a good relationship with his mom usually, and if she
Sure.
says hi and like
Yeah.
I react like, "Ugh," you can like. It's just about rolling.
You
into
can
it,
manipulate
you know?
it in your own
Any way you
head
want.
of what they said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember John Edward?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
Jeff.
like there's been a lot of like deep, like on YouTube, so deep studies of how he leads people and how he gets.
John Edwards, the vice president guy.
Twice.
No, no. The
one
John
that too.
Edward.
That too.
One S. Or no
You said
S.
no politics.
Oh, there's a ghost. A ghost just knocked
Ghost
over.
just knocked over the beer.
iPhone ghost.
It's a ghost of John Edwards.
What did John Edwards do?
John Edward. He was he had a show. He was a very famous psychic medium, and he got famous like a lot of people got famous through Oprah.
Right.
Oh, right.
Like she, you know,
He'd be like, "Is anybody here
right.
breathing?"
And he would
Yes,
go.
you.
He would go to Oprah's show and do his shit, and then he did. Then he had a show on TV where she did it. But you know, I
It's
think
essentially like a like
mentalism.
It's like a Penn and Teller kind of a
Right.
of a trick of that mental manipulation.
See, I'm of the belief maybe there is something to it, but there's some sort of scientific reason for it.
You know what I believe?
I just want to learn how to do it
I think-
anyway.
I
Like,
think
that's
that-
dope as hell. Just be able to read somebody's mind like that. Like
Exactly.
That's fresh.
You said scientific reason. That's kind of what I believe. I kind of think that I feel like there's, well, obviously I don't know, and none of us knows for real. But we do know that there's probably multiple dimensions, right? I mean, that's kind of what the theories
There's
are like
theories.
really leaning towards now,
Right.
and that it's
What
possible.
theories? Who says that?
And then it's some guy's theory.
Thanos.
And like some and when it comes to like what string theories, like that their dimensions could be actually in the same place where you are. Like we could be living amongst multiple dimensions in the same space, and it could also be us ourselves. Like we're doing this in another dimension or another reality, except I'm sitting there and you're sitting here, but we're having this exact same conversation. That shit. So I think when people see ghosts, maybe it's sort of dimensions sort of crossing over each other. And you just kind of see the shadow of somebody or that's actually in a different, that's actually in your space at that same time, but living and existing in a whole other dimension. And you just, and you see that for a moment.
That's
Sure.
true.
Or
Maybe.
feel that.
Or feel it, right? I mean,
All right.
who knows? I mean, it's all energy.
But there's science behind that, and that's what I believe. There's some answer, there's some explanation, but we
Oh,
just
so-
don't have it.
So
Well, it
you're
seems
one.
like science and physics and sociophysics, if that's even a thing. I think I just made up a thing. Are becoming more and more close. Like when you're just talking about galaxies and string theories and all that stuff, that all that physics is they're proving the science of, yeah, this is crazy. There's no way we could really even explain this too much. I'm more inclined to believe that things are true and just haven't been explained yet, rather than someone is always just making up bullshit.
Yeah, I mean,
Some people are, but
because there's
at a
so
certain
many
level.
people.
At
There
a
has
certain
to be
level.
bullshit and there has to be non-bullshit. I mean, like it seems like there's this like major difference between psychics and mediums, right? I mean, like one that seems. I feel like whenever I hear a story about a medium, it's always super super famous medium who only like you can never get an appointment with this
Miss
medium.
Chloe.
Like, you have no idea. I think she was a psychic,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
She
Chloe
didn't
the
speak
psychic.
Right.
But she didn't speak.
She was
So
a
what is the
medium.
difference? The medium.
So here,
speaks
I'll
to-
tell you, because my mother's aunt was a psychic medium.
Oh,
she's a
you
both.
could have
She
a
was both.
hybrid.
She's
She
a
was a
combo.
medium.
Yeah.
That's,
Combo.
Now,
that's amazing.
this is how. So I'm like 9, all right? And my mom sends me, when we lived in Orlando, she's like, oh, you're going to go stay a week with your Aunt Ramona, right?
There's
My-
your first warning.
She's named after my aunt, or her aunt. Anyway, I go up there, and she's got all of these books on, aliens. We had this discussion. Terrifying shit for an 8-year-old. Psychic stuff, ghosts, all of it. And when my mom came back up, like the last day, she's like, oh, we're going to do a seance. My aunt's going to do a seance for all of us. And we all sat around, and we did the Om thing. We held hands. We did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really, it was weird. I kind of giggled
Really?
a lot. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, no, it was totally chill. It was really chill, guys. No, it was like, it wasn't anything remarkable about it. And I left skeptical, even though I was 9. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
She came down to Orlando and did a second one, right? Other people involved. My aunt was there too. We all got there and we did the same thing, held hands. She did the own thing. And then at one point, I got into a giggle fit. But then at one point, a different voice came out of her body. Like a voice that didn't sound like her at all. It was so jarring
Really?
when it happened that I began bawling uncontrollably because it
Whoa.
was so frightening. And because I'm still 9, I'm 10.
Yeah.
I was like Greg's age. It was frightening and I couldn't understand it. And I was like, it just freaked me out to no end, to where I was almost inconsolable. My mom had to stop the whole thing. And they're like, we had to bring her out of it slowly. And so I left there going, I don't know. She was a strange lady. She was very nice and all that. Now, here's where it gets funky, is that I used to spend my summers up in New York with my father. One night we came home from a movie, and we go into my grandmother's house. We were staying at my grandmother's, and I look, and there's this giant mirror when you come in the door, and I look, and out of the corner of my eye, I catch a glimpse of this Aunt Ramona of mine in the mirror. And I like double take it, and I kind of shake it off, and I'm like, oh, that was strange. Go to bed, wake up, phone call the next day from my mother. Your Aunt Ramona died last
Come
night.
on.
Oh.
And
Liar.
I was
You're
like,
lying.
I am
She's
not.
still alive. She has to be.
But I'm not fully all in on, there's definitely ghosts and but there's
That
these
wasn't enough.
moments where I was like, uncomfortable moments,
Yeah.
Did you tell anybody you saw your Aunt Ramona?
Absolutely.
Really?
I told my mom right
no, but
away.
I mean, like the night before you knew she had died.
No,
All right.
no. Went to bed.
Wow. That's a good.
Had a lot of trouble sleeping from that night forward.
Actually, I read a book on Kindle. I didn't read the whole thing. Halfway through, I quit, but I can't find it now. It talks about when somebody passes away,
Yeah.
their ghost will come and visit you right before they leave.
See, that I believe. Like that, I've seen people die.
But I'm in New
and
York.
You can, but you can see. Yeah, that's true. But maybe maybe time and space doesn't apply.
The person's visiting you before the afterlife, but you're like,
Yeah.
wait a second.
How'd you get here?
This, they're,
That's a 2.5-hour flight.
they're all booked. I checked.
But if you've seen somebody die, you see the life. You see their eyes go from alive to dead, and sometimes they're not. They haven't lost their mind. Sometimes if they have, you can't talk to them. But some people are like lucent before they die, and then they die, and they're just not there anymore. And if you think about life and consciousness, it's really kind of just like a vibrations and like neurosynapses like connecting. You're like, that's got to go someplace. It's got to go. Like if you drop a drip of dye into the ocean, right? Like red dye. None of that red dye is destroyed. It just gets diluted so much.
Right.
that-
Everything's always just
Yeah.
existing.
Right.
Right.
But it's more concentrated when it first hits than after a couple seconds when
Right.
it gets just, that's what I feel like that could happen.
Well-
like right when you die, you're like, wow,
Like, 'cause
moving
then-
along.
Have
Yeah.
you seen the movie 21 Grams?
Yeah.
I
So
think
that the whole thing about that
yeah.
is when you die, apparently, when you die, your body loses 21 grams of weight when you die.
Like immediately.
That's like it's your soul.
Damn. Is that the one with Sean Penn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that real?
I don't know.
21 grams.
Like,
how much? What
We're
else
all
weighs
hitting
21
the internet
grams?
like a freight train. after
Right.
this.
I only know grams in terms of weed.
But
That's
yeah.
the only thing I can say. How much weed is that?
But
3
also,
4 joints?
It's one gummy.
One gummy.
To do a
worth-
study, they literally have to have people on a scale right as they die to see that 21 grams disappears.
if they offered me good money for that, be like, hey, when you die, can we bring a scale over, and we'll give your kid, or we'll give your cousin or your nephew or whoever's related to you at the time.
I hope you're asking for it up front.
Yeah,
Yeah,
up front. I'll negotiate that deal.
Yeah.
You know, I want a cool looking scale.
Lloyd, your family's here. Get me the scale.
Give me the gold one. I want
Well, have you seen? Oh man, this is probably one of the most fucked up YouTube videos I've seen. Is the experiment of a guy who had his head chopped off.
I've heard about that, and I'm not interested at all.
Seen it.
What does he do?
So basically, I don't know what the actual circumstance was. I think he was someone who was going to be executed for a crime and agreed to do this experiment. And basically, what they did was that they severed his head and immediately put his severed head on the table. And so they, in the video is they put his head on the table and the eyes are closed and it's just a dead head. And they go up to the head and clap and scream this guy's name. And the eyes open and look at him.
Of course it would.
Of course it would.
I think it's so. Of course it would.
But, I
Jeez.
mean, that's-
like
it's-
why. First of all,
I mean, it's
how
the
did this
same-
not get flagged on YouTube? Like, how is this? Why are rec
and he does
videos-
it, and he does it about I think 3 times, and like it keeps getting less and less. It's more like his eyes open like halfway, and then it's nothing. Like it took a time before it's not reacting
Well,
anymore.
yeah, I mean, there's going to be parts of the brain that
That's
are,
still moving because
that
it's
are
such.
still firing.
Still
that are
working.
It's like
working.
the lobster walking away from itself.
when you chop
and
it in
then-
half.
Yeah, if you
Well,
know,
you can
or
live-
chickens when he gets his head
you
chopped
can
off.
live. Well, like your heart and your lungs are all about providing oxygen to the
Right.
rest of your body, so you can hold your breath for a while.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I imagine.
Well, that lived with me forever.
Yeah,
that
that's
the
a
image of that
nightmare.
will live with me forever.
Yeah, man, I don't want to see that shit.
Yeah, me neither. I don't.
Yeah.
want to see
Well,
it.
I took one for the team.
Good, thank
Were
you.
you one of those
Totally
faces
traumatized.
of death guys?
Yes.
oh God, no, dude.
I watched
neither.
all of them. All of them. And if today, if I saw one of those scenes, it would upset me so much I wouldn't look at my phone for a day. But back then, as a kid, the fact that that was like borderline. I mean, it was like
It's snuff.
porn. It was not. Yeah, I mean, it was just like it was
porn.
like holy shit. I'm seeing.
I mean, the stuff they have now is even worse. Like if you ever go on 4chan or whatever, they
Oh
just have
yeah.
those strings
Well, it's
of,
all
like,
gotten to the next level
It's
of
awful.
everything.
They're like, hey, you want to see the mass shooter from the school the other day because he decided to put it on Facebook Live
Right.
or whatever.
Well, Faces of Death was more like a lot of it was like slaughterhouse shit, like animals getting killed, or
Security
like other
cameras.
countries that you see on like the Food Network now. Sometimes, like of like live animals being just kind of cooked. Like I guess you don't really see that on the Food Network, but
No, you don't.
no, but but like you see like what's his name, like Bourdain used to go to other countries, or Andrew Zimmern goes to like other countries, and a lot of times I've seen it where they are killing the animal right
Yeah,
there
he has
to
to
eat
slaughter it.
Yeah. So it's like that's it. But in Faces of Death, the most like human stuff you saw was like bodies that had already been killed. Like I remember like the big one was with someone with a camera walking through a major commercial airline plane crash. And it was like into like it was in a
Unsubscribe.
town,
Unsubscribe.
or it hit houses or something. So they were just and it was just like body parts everywhere.
Yeah.
It was terrible. But
Damn.
as a kid, you're like, oh,
No, as a kid,
you're
you're
like that.
You're like
twisted
that.
New
Yeah,
Jersey.
I'm telling you, you just never saw it. You never got exposed.
I remember
to
we
it.
looked at that for 2 seconds in 1650. No, yeah, or Aaron and our buddy Aaron and Jason.
Oh, they were looking up YouTube clips.
Yeah,
but it was like the
on
first
Ice
ever.
House. It was
yeah,
called, like,
it was
Ice-
before YouTube.
Icebox or something.
It would take like you'd have to wait for it to load.
Yeah, it would be buffering or whatever.
Yeah,
It would
and he
be just
showed
like
us-
anticipating what am I going to see here?
The first thing he showed us was those guys rock climbing and falling, bouncing off rocks all the way to the bottom.
That's just awful.
That's
I saw a video of
Merry
an
Christmas, everybody.
execution on that, the Faces of Death.
video
Oh,
what?
yeah.
They electrocate this inmate.
oh
and-
yeah, they show.
and then-
I saw that.
And his eyeballs underneath the what do you call the blindfold?
Blindfold, yeah.
Yeah, pops.
Great.
Well, you just see the blood coming down.
Yeah.
You don't
That's
really
great.
see that. What do you
You
believe?
should have dipped the sponge, man.
This
you
ain't
believe
ghost
in
talk, by
ghosts?
the way.
I believe
this is
I,
dead talk.
Well, we haven't heard it. Like if he believes in ghosts.
No,
or not.
I believe in ghosts. Yeah,
You do?
I do believe in ghosts, but I don't believe like they're gonna show up and like sort of like take a shower with
Well,
you.
I don't mean like,
yeah.
I don't mean like afterlife, but I mean like, is it possible? Are people having ghost experiences when?
No, I definitely believe there is some,
See, I wouldn't discount.
Yeah, no, I believe like like these are maybe the residuals of someone who passed away. Or
I see. There's parts of it that I can't discount. Like when you guys tell your story about your house, and you all had this shared experience,
Yeah.
unspoken, and it all happened. This happened to someone I work with. Same thing in his house.
Yeah.
Son won't go in his closet. Dog won't go in the room. They don't want to be. They feel uncomfortable going in a certain room in their house. None of them spoke about it until they all spoke about it together, and
Yeah.
they all came to the realization something happened in there.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to a neighbor. I think they already knew someone had died in the house, but they talked to the neighbor, and apparently they used to do a lot of messed up drugs and really like ODs, would happen, and they would do that in that room, and obviously something happened, or they feel like something happened. So there's something there, right? Because you guys aren't lying collectively,
Right.
and you all had an experience independently from one another. So something's there, but what is it that I think there is some sort of explanation?
Do you think it's more of a scientific explanation
Well,
rather than
also
supernatural?
biological
Yeah.
too. Like when you said a dog won't go in the room, there's more than just your eyes and your ears that you can use to sense things.
Yeah.
Fear. You ever had like goosebumps prickle up
All the
from
time.
being
Right
afraid or something? There's so many things that can happen that it's not like supernatural. It's just biological. We just don't really have a good way to measure it.
Yeah, it feels supernatural.
Yeah, you ever like walk into a room and it's just uncomfortable. You can
Yeah.
see it at the comedy club. When
Oh,
you
yeah.
walk into the comedy
The
club and it's
energy.
just flat. The energy's just
that-
flat.
I think to me that brings like in my ear like energy. Like I feel like that's whatever energy is of the universe and the solar. I feel like that is definitely in play here, and I feel like I had to do this research. I co-wrote this script a few years ago, and it was about completely not about ghosts, but there was a part of it that was sort of a supernatural part of it, and I read all these things online about these theories about these energy hotspots that are all over, the Earth, but also all over the universe. And it's basically just concentrated energy that they don't know what it is. And they think that's what like the Bermuda Triangle is, and why there's all this weird shit that happens there is because there's a concentration of energy that just kind of fucks up reality and just a little bit to see, or in some way.
Sure.
And these hotspots could also be concentrated as small as like say a house, that like this house is sort of on or in line with some sort of energy hotspot, which could be bullshit, but I don't know.
Or vibration, but
What's like a big commonly known, like among in Iran, like a supernatural thing where everybody talks about, like how they'll talk about like the Loch Ness monster or the Bermuda Triangle. Is there anything?
right.
Is there anything in Iran that like everyone collectively is like, oh, that's something supernatural of that manner?
Yeah, not that I know of.
No.
No, I'm trying to think of one, but not that I know of. But just like one of the things that are commonly spoken is like if someone has like cast a spell on you,
Oh yeah.
and then you go to the medium or the exorcist or not a psychic but medium, and then they sort of like try to get that army of ghosts that I mentioned to come and sort of like take this spell off you, something.
they cast a spell on you.
Yeah, like
A witch?
like a witch, or not necessarily like a witch, but another type of like a medium or an exorcist that they sit down and curse you. And
Is that like in general accepted as true?
no, but generally speaking, like less educated people who don't believe in sciences or sometimes they're not like doing financially well. Those are the ones who really believe in those, like because it's a subcategory of a miracle.
Sure.
But what would you say
reversing.
what would you say would happen if like somebody who isn't in that category, if
Yeah.
someone that's just an average person like yourself,
Yeah.
was open about the fact that you believe in ghosts and you think this happens all the time, how would you be perceived by other people? Would people be like, "Oh, that's cool, that's fine," or would it?
Well, it's a little hard to sort of like describe the context, but it's a place where majority of people come from a place of survival, just like to pay their bills and like day-to-day sort of like necessities. So they may judge you harshly, but it wouldn't be something that would affect your life or your career or something. They say like, but majority of people may say like, yeah, he's lost his mind.
We don't have time for ghosts.
No.
Just trying to put food on this table.
Exactly, perfectly. Yeah, that's exactly.
I do think a lot of people want to believe something or put the reasons on something outside of themselves, and that's why they want to believe in ghosts or spirits. And I think that even bleeds into tarot cards. It bleeds into self-help books in the universe and whatever the hell. It's all to avoid. Maybe it's me.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Well, I feel like also, I mean, I don't have a problem. Like, I feel like anybody's going to try to profit off the unknown to try to be able to. But, like, when I read stories about, like, people, like, there are mediums who are used to try to find missing kids, or, like, used to, like, solve crimes and everything. I mean, do you know about that? I mean, like the police, some police in different places have actual like mediums, people who could contact the dead and everything and they actually
Imagine
have
that.
them on payroll.
Imagine that guy after it doesn't work in the office. Hey, good one, Carl. Hey, how's that medium going? I didn't want that burger. Medium, right? Hey, that's just got to deal with that ball buster.
I'm a fucking kid. I found him.
Yeah, she was in the well. That's where the dogs found her, man. Your medium was over there on the side of the highway.
No. You weren't there.
Well, I knew a guy who used to take classes to become a remote viewer. Like it's a thing. If you go online, there are a bunch of like.
Oh, I read a whole book about remote viewing.
Remote viewing.
that?
It's like apparently. Oh, you got it.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it was there was a program in I think World War II is where they started. Apparently, like the Germans and the United States had a sort of a supernatural department, and people that they believed were either psychic or mediums.
Magical mysteries.
What's that?
Of magical mysteries. Oh, God,
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
terrible Harry
No, I
Potter.
got it,
Just
I got
go.
it.
I'll edit that out.
Yeah, you can't now. That they were being trained to focus on where, like, say somebody is like a target, and be like, and they could like see that target, that person that they're looking for, and they would be able to describe like what the trees look like, what the buildings look like
That's
around.
11 in Stranger Things, right? Is it?
Right.
You were training 11 to be
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't remember.
Matthew Modine. Was,
Yes.
Come on, man.
I remember the last season was so bad. I can't. The rest of them before.
It was.
was.
Oh, it wasn't as bad as season 2. Season 2 was by far.
You think
the worst.
season 2 is worse than season 3?
Absolutely.
Oh, 3 is an abomination.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
let's just agree that anything other than 1, but at least season 3 didn't have the 80s like punk gang.
Yeah, that was a terrible episode.
Oh yeah, that was. I'm not saying that it was perfect,
But season 2 didn't have Winona Ryder in a fucking Russian military outfit, like banging around. So, like,
oh my god,
it's too big on her, and
Yeah, but it
it's
had
like a
ice cream
Scooby Doo
scoops.
episode.
It had ice cream scoops.
This guy's. You might have even met him. The guy who was doing remote viewing.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you may have to like edit this out. His name was Joseph. He looked like a vigilante.
But no, but the remote viewing thing though is I read this whole book on it. I forgot what it was called, but it was a guy who claimed that he was in the program and was like, and when he wanted to start talking about it or was going public with it, that his family started getting harassed, and he claims that he was almost. Him and his family were almost murdered. Someone jacked up the carbon monoxide in the house or whatever, and almost killed them.
Well, one problem with remote viewing is that, I mean, the one criticism is that because you do these exercises where you sort of like, it's some form of a meditation where you're like contacting the sort of like the outside world in order to get help
Right.
for you. I know I'm failing at like really like pronouncing the terminologies that they use. I don't remember. But one problem is when you get to that state of like self-hypnosis or meditation, you start like seeing things based on what you've seen on TV or movies or your life experience or what you read in books. So like that's why like most of the people who only lived in like let's say the United States and they took remote viewing, most of them had like the areas that they viewed or the things they saw was more or less like Hollywood movies.
And they would just put it in their head.
Exactly, right? And somebody who like traveled the world, like, and I don't mean like somebody who traveled the world with like a deep understanding, like Ernest Hemingway style, but meaning like, they've seen like some third world countries and they go like, no, shit doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
The remote viewings may be a little different than
Well,
the remote viewing of this vigilante Joseph,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this thing that I saw was, I mean, I'm not saying I was convinced that it was real.
Yeah.
But there were some parts of the story that were really interesting on what they were able, he was able to describe. But the thing that I found most interesting was that this stems from like, and I'm sure I'm gonna be butchering this completely, but that ninjas back when like ninjas were a thing used this technique before they would raid wherever they were raiding to kill people or whatever they were going to do, because they would come together and do this technique together over and over and in a group, basically make a group mind and be able.
This is so improv.
It is very improv based, and they would be like,
now we attack.
they were all coming.
Zip, Chinese star.
They would get into an agreement that like, yeah, there were two people on the second floor. Wow. Or like they would be able to if like 4 out of 5 of them saw that or realized it, then they'd be like, that's fact, right, or something, and then they would go in and have this advantage. But that's where viewing stemmed from, I guess. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I do remember reading that. I can say that about anything I say. I think I remember reading that.
I don't know.
I think I remember reading that.
I want to know if you guys think that, first of all, UFOs are real. Secondly, if the government has footage of them. And if not, what do you think the most secret that the government has is?
About in general or about UFOs?
In general or about UFOs?
I say yes to all of it.
Yeah.
I say yes, there's absolutely. Because think about this, right?
Yeah.
I saw this like math problem. There are so many theoretical stars and planets and galaxies in the universe.
Right.
That it is a statistical fact that the odds of a planet exactly like this, with the exact amount of people at the exact stage of civilization exists because just by sheer numbers.
Right.
So to hypothesize that there's a world out there that is far advanced past where we are.
Right.
That makes
completely reasonable.
Yeah, not even black magic or that is the scientific
just the numbers.
Probability.
I'm with you, and I believe that, right? Like, again, it's all about belief. We obviously don't know. But someone said, I think someone had this theory on, I think it was on, I was listening to a Joe Rogan, I'm sure it was a Joe Rogan podcast, all he talks about is aliens. And someone had said, there's no way that there can't be another planet that isn't more advanced than us and doesn't have the ability to be able to come here and observe us. And the other person was saying, why not? Because if you believe in the Big Bang that started the universe, that in whatever amount of time, everything came out into the universe at the same time, boom,
right?
Then therefore everything in the universe has been evolving along the same timeline. And it took us this long to get this far, and we can't go to any other planets.
But our star is younger than other stars.
Right, so longer to heat up.
Yes, of course. And also, so that means planets could have been developing way longer than we have because they started faster. Like, we didn't come together until much. Right. But it is an interesting theory. Yeah, I believe that. I'm with you.
And what was around before the Big Bang? Like, the Big Bang to me is like the most ridiculous hypothesis in the world because you're like, all right, that's how that happened.
Right.
But what was around before that? Nothing? There's no such thing as nothing.
Well,
there's no such
if you're
thing
gonna say that, and since we're talking about ghosts, afterlife, what
I don't know.
I mean, what everyone has obviously their own beliefs on what happens.
So if every soul has a place somewhere, that's a lot. That's a fucking lot of souls.
Well, yeah, that is a lot of souls.
That's terabytes of souls.
Seriously,
that's the Library of Congress of souls.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because there's people that really believe that it's nothing, that it's blank, everything just goes blank. Which is as good as a theory as anything else. But I find it even difficult to just believe that way and move on with life.
I mean, I think it's like before you were born. And if you do have a consciousness after, how boring would that be? You have to be yourself again? Shit. I would want to be somebody else.
Oh yeah, maybe you can be.
Yeah.
Obviously, but I mean,
maybe it all swirls around. Like, you know, you go into recirculation for a long time and then you show up in some other planet. I really do think it's like that drop of dye in the ocean type of a thing.
you just go.
You just become a part of everything else.
Everything else, and that you maybe already are.
You know, I mentioned that there are other like planets that are more advanced. I remember even Stephen Hawking, before he passed away, he mentioned like don't try to contact the other planets because they may be way stronger than us, and they may be technologically way more advanced, and then we're all gonna collectively have the faith of the Native Americans. They're gonna come and colonize us.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, if someone that's
sounds
smart,
right.
War of the Worlds, baby.
Yeah.
So in Iran, I'm assuming the belief of afterlife is based on what religion?
It's very religious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if you're a good guy, you go to heaven. If you're a bad guy, you go to hell.
Right.
Well, what is heaven? What is considered heaven? Is it like a Garden of Eden?
Yeah, exactly. There's a garden, and then there are like
Just a garden?
people greet you, ask you in, and
Depends
you
what time of
have-
year.
you get.
You're like, they got good outside speakers?
Yeah, you get like your own place, and everything is beautiful, and this is very similar to the idea of heavens everywhere. So.
Yeah.
But nowadays people don't. I mean, I can't talk for everybody, but I know that the number of people like living in that is like decreasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people are becoming more secular.
Well, maybe when you die, you just get up, go have a choice where it's like you could either go to heaven or you could haunt the house you were living in.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to stay in this house here in East Kansas City?
Wow, it's gonna be
I'm gonna
funny.
stick around. There's 6 guys in their 20s here. I'm gonna see what happens in this house.
I have a house in Wisconsin. Moving
Talk to this Aunt Ramona for a little while.
Well, I'm thinking on that note, we're gonna thank Lloyd for
Thanks,
being here.
Lloyd.
Man.
Thank
you.
Awesome
This
you're
is
here.
fun.
Good to see you.
Good stuff.
And we end every episode with
Team
Team
Supreme.
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 Yeah, I have to say it.
Team Supreme.